Here in Nigeria, authorities have confirmed 35 new cases of the virus, which brings the total in the country to 442. From the new cases, 19 were found in Lagos, 9 in the FCT, 5 in Kano, and 2 in Oyo State. 152 patients have so far been discharged, with 13 deaths recorded. Meanwhile, in Lagos, there were reports earlier of gunfire in the areas of Isolo, Okota, and Itire, amongst others. The state, along with the FCT and Ogun State, have been under lockdown restrictions on movement in response to the coronavirus pandemic. Now, the Nigerian government says it has paid about 220 billion naira towards the power sector for improving supply. This was disclosed by the Group Managing Director of the Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, NNPC, Mr. Mele Kyari. Mr. Kyari disclosed the payment while with Mr. Saleh Maman, the Minister of Power, and Usman Mohammed, Managing Director of the Transmission Company of Nigeria. The TCM boss said the minister had prevailed on the NNPC to assist in supplying gas to power plants to ensure steady power supply going forward. He added that the meeting was arranged to ensure constant power supply during the lockdown period. Joining me now to discuss this is the founder and CEO of ZKJ Energy, Mr. Rumundaka Wonodi. Good morning, sir. You're welcome to the Global Business Report on Arise News. We'd like to get your take on this payment that is being made in order to improve things in the power sector, if you will, sir.
Good morning. Thank you for having me. First, let me provide a little bit of a clarification to what you just said. I think that the announcement of additional 220 billion was coming from the Minister of Power and not from the GMD of NNPC.
Yes.
And the context is this. If you remember, 2 or 3 years ago, the government put in place the payment assurance guarantee, 701 billion, which was disbursed to support the power sector and the tariff, because at the time, the tariff was not cost reflective at the retail end. Well, that fund expired last year, and the government, again, through the CBN, made provisions for additional 600 billion. None of that have been disbursed before now. And what you have is 220 billion or 200 billion of that about to be disbursed. So I think that the Minister of Power was soliciting support from the gas suppliers led by NNPC, and was trying to state that, the funds will be made available to support generation companies so that they can pay for gas and in that way boost supply. This is critical at this time because, as you know, we are just getting out of the season where reliability on the hydro assets is going down because of the dry season. So really, to keep generation up, you need to rely on the gas-fired assets, and for that, you also need gas supply. So this is providing assurance to gas suppliers that there is money out there to pay them for outstanding debt, and then there is provision for ongoing supply.
All right, thank you for that, sir. Just touching on the gas supply part of the value chain for the power sector, I want to ask you about the exchange rates because I believe that's paid for. What's paid to the gas suppliers is in USD, and we've just recently moved from 360 naira per dollar to 380. Is that by any chance? Do you think that's been factored into the payments that's being made to the gas suppliers?
Well, to the outstanding debt, I doubt that we would do that retroactively. But going forward, the tariff, the MITO, multi-year tariff order, anticipates some adjustment to macroeconomic prices that indices that includes gas supply on gas prices and the effect. So somewhere along the line, that has to be done. But I know that in April, NEC deferred adjusting the tariff and has said that they will do that at a later date. And this is all about the COVID-19 economy.
Thank you for that, sir. Okay, I also want to talk about, power generation and how us being able to meet capacity. If I look at, data from February as far as peak demand in the country being at about 25,790 megawatts or so. And then our generation, as far as what we're able to generate, being only about 5,000 or so megawatts. What can you speak towards, with peak energy demand? Also, we should have the capacity to meet about 40% of that, but only reaching about 20% or so. When do you think this issue can be solved? And I guess, is this payment of 220 billion supposed to go towards solving that?
The 220 billion, unfortunately, is dealing with the short-term issues of liquidity in the sector. What you refer to is more of a medium-term solution that will take care of that. And, there is this deal in the sector, the Siemens-led deal, Nigerian electricity roadmap, that is looking to expand the transmission and distribution networks and their capacity so that at least the 13,000 that we have installed could be evacuated and distributed to homes and businesses by the year 2023. So that is about the target, and I think it's a critical work that needs to be done. The statistics that you just shared about the peak demand in the country being 25,000 megawatts and transmission and distribution statistics, we are not very sure. What we know is that we seem to be limited at about, under 6,000. So whether TCN, the transmission company, claims to have the willing capacity of 8,000 or the distribution companies claim to have 11,000 or 6,000, we do not have an alignment of these capacities in the industry. So we end up having a lot of bottlenecks. So the work of Siemens in that contract or that program is well implemented, should be able to take out those bottlenecks, and then we would increase the number of hours and supply that homes and businesses can see. But I don't think that this is a very short term. The target is that by next year, they will take that from this 5,500 or thereabout to 7,000 megawatts, and then 2 years later to 11,000.
Fantastic. Thank you for that. Okay, I want to talk about the regulator, the NERC. On April 1st, they announced that there would be a capping, or rather suspending the tariff increase until further notice. As far as the value chain is concerned now, from the gas suppliers all the way down to the discos, can you speak towards, I guess, the importance of tariffs and how they factor into what the effectiveness and efficiency of the discos with regards to liquidity in the chain?
Tariffs are fundamental in meeting the cost of provision of service, right from gas suppliers to generation companies, transmission companies, all the other service providers, and even the metering in the sector. It's very critical that at the end of the day, what it costs to provide service is paid for. And the government has made it very clear that out next year, from July of 2021, they'll be suspending additional support to this sector, and expect that the tariffs will be cost reflective, and that discos should be able to collect whatever the tariff is and then make payments upstream of that. But it's also very important to state that tariffs in it's not the only way that you can, what's the word? It's not the only way that you can guarantee payments or full payments for service. It's also the level of the service that you provide. So one of the things that we've always said is that when you have these cost-reflective tariffs that do not put any guarantees, any level of service level on the distribution company. So consumers, for instance, know that they're paying 60 naira, but they do not know whether 60 naira is going to guarantee them 12 hours of supply, 16 hours of supply, or just 2 hours of supply. So as we look into cost-reflective tariff, which is very critical, we should also look into service level so that at different tariffs, we can actually know the expected level of service, number of hours, and quality of power that will be expected. And, the recent order that deferred the tariff increase by NERC did acknowledge that going forward, tariffs must come with a service level, the quality of power, not the type, not brownouts and the types that will cost equipment to blow up. And then people should have a service level that says how many hours and when that will show up. Because I believe that predictability is a key attribute to power supply and the service.
Thank you for that, sir. I also want to talk about the regulator also capping estimated billing. It's been said in some quarters that estimated billing was a necessary evil because of the infrastructure deficits in the sector. Do you agree with that? What's your take?
Well, estimated billing it's necessary as it is now because the rate at which you roll out meters and the cost of meters might make it very difficult to send these meters to everyone. There are people whose consumption might just be about 3,000, 5,000, and then you give them a meter of 100,000. When would that be paid back if there is an investment? So there could be estimated, you might still require estimated billing in the system for some time. And I think that it might just be because of that NERC thought about those classes of consumers and capped it at 1,800, which is 1,800 naira per month. But what happens is that it is possible that there are other people whose consumption could be much more than 1,800, and the DISCO will just decide never to provide them power supply. So in the short term, some will suffer for it, while those classes of customers that NERC is looking to protect, understanding that they might not be able to pay as much to amortize the cost of a meter provision to them. Therefore, it caps it at 1,800. But people who may consume as much as 5,000, 10,000 might be denied supply because these distribution companies, definitely with incentives, would not like to provide those people services and at the end of the day, have their revenue capped at 1,800. So in between that,
yes, sir.
This policy, there will be some pains. But,
in the whole
idea,
Thank you so much. So we've actually run out of time. I have so many more questions for you, but thank you very much, Mr. Rumundaka Wonodi, the founder and CEO of ZKJ Energy.